What is up, guys? It is your boy Royal Mech, and today I have my deck list for my Blangdmire set for Divine set 4 deck profile. So we're gonna go right into it. I've been actually having really fun with this deck, switching between playing this and Chronojet, but today we are going to go into Blangdmire we are going into Chronojet. So let's get started. So starting off for the starter, I'm just going to stick to the generic starter for the ride line. So Cavity with the generic starter ability of on ride, when you go second, draw a card. Followed by that, we go into Holoraptor. It has the ability, when written by the grade 2 of the ride line, you then get to look at the top, reveal the top 3 cards of the deck, add any non-trigger units from among them into Soul, and if you add it 2 or more, you draw a card. Really good, really stable for the engine and what you're trying to do. Into the grade 2, and those cards that don't get added to Soul, sorry guys, gets put to the bottom of your deck. Now, we go into the grade 2, and we have Vacant Fang. Vacant Fang does the exact same thing as Holoraptor. However, after you put cards to the bottom of the deck, you actually shuffle and then draw one. So, gives you some good deck manipulation, as well as still adding to that soul so that Blangdmire can be used for all of its strength. Then last but not least, we do have the Fated One of Zero himself, Blangdmire. He has 2 abilities. He has 2 main abilities. The first one is when this unit attacks, you choose 4 cards from your soul, bind them face down. Then your opponent chooses, you choose up to 4, but you're always going to use 4. You choose bind face down, and then your opponent chooses 2 of their rear guards to bind face down as well, and then you draw a card. Really good card. Then it gives you 10k power for every 5k power for every 2 face down. Really good. Just grants great pressure and power. It then we have its divine skill. So its divine skill is when you have 8 face down cards in your bind zone, you then are able to activate divine, and divine states your opponent cannot guard with sentinels for the rest of the turn, as well as your opponent's vanguard loses their abilities. So they pretty much get set, pun intended, to 0. Really strong card. The deck is it's still stable. And then, as always, you have your crest, energy generator crest that always goes in this deck. Well, in all decks, right? On to the grade 3s. So with the grade 3s, there has only been slight changing because we got a new card. So first up, we do still run 3 extra copies of Blangdmire just so you can guarantee your divine and your persona ride. Then we run 3 copies of Colossus. Strike Colossus has been reduced in the deck because there are more ways to add to soul, and there's more pressure cards now, but you still want him in deck as a support card. What he does is when he attacks, if my bind zone has 4 or more face down cards, I may have it get plus 10k power, and then at the end of that battle, put it into soul. Now, it has a second ability that when it gets put into soul, you have Blangdmire the Vanguard, you may then bind this card face down and draw a card. So another card that helps generate draw. Now, the putting to bind zone is optional. At times you don't want to do that, especially if your soul does not have the threshold. But most of the time you won't have a problem doing that because we have other cards that do help elevate the soul. And then last but not least, for our grade 3s, we are going to go ahead and play 1 copy of Garitas Grado. We'll just go ahead and Chalice it. 1 copy of Chalice. Personally, we run it because it's just another way of persona writing. So this gives you 4 copies technically of your grade 3 in deck. So you don't have to risk not seeing a persona write at any point. Now, I will say playing this additional order does play a weight to you, but that's partially because of grade 2s. So let's go into the grade 2s and you'll see what I mean. First up in the grade 2s, introducing our new boy, we play 4 copies of Veldirock Dragon. Now, he is amazing. He has the ability, when placed, when placed on rear, you soul charge 1. Then you may counterblast 1 to call a unit from soul to rear guard. Now, if you don't have a Blangdmire Vanguard, it will go back to soul at the end of turn. Really good. But then it has the continuous ability for every 4 cards face up in the bind zone, well, face down in the bind zone, it gains 10k. So with Blangdmire, this is another unit that gains 10k for the face down bind zone, which is really good because of new cards that we started adding to this, especially the order package. This can either be a booster or it can be an aggressive attacker on your own. A lot of times we are using this as a booster, but even as an attacker, it is great. And being able to help generate soul is really good because you don't have to use the counterblast skill if you don't want to. Next up, we still play an oldie but a goodie. 4 copies of Zamook. He has the ability, when placed, counterblast 1. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may add up to any number of those cards to soul that are not triggers. When you do, after doing so, shuffle the deck. Well, put the rest to the bottom. After doing that, shuffle and draw if you put at least 1 card in soul. Really, really strong. We appreciate that on play. But the real reason's here because he's our pressure attacker, and he has the ability of when the unit attacks, you may pay, and you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Blangdmire. This unit may, when this unit attacks, you may pay 3 energy, give it +5 an additional crit, only if he does not have an additional crit on himself. So you can drop power from triggers, but you can't drop the crit off of a critical trigger onto him. And so he's really good. He works great with Blangdmire because once you tell your opponent no PGs, okay, now this thing can hit you for a crit, and if you don't have the guard power to protect it, you are watching yourself die. A lot of times the best combo is to run Veldirock with him because this just makes a really big like 80k column and they have to stop it, but they're most likely not going to be able to. On to the next card. One of our normal generic cards we do run in the deck, 4 copies of Tizcar. This is just your generic energy cycler. When discarded for ride, counterblast 1 or pay 3 energy, and then draw a card, or when used as guarding from hand, you may pay a counterblast or 3 energy to draw a card. Really good, really stable. Now, some people do run the original cyclers for the soul, but because you need the soul to make sure Blangdmire is working, we use this one instead. Now, on to parts of our new package. Here, onto the new package, because this is why Veldirock is actually incredibly good. We play 3 copies of Schemer. Now, Schemer has the ability to, when the unit is placed on rearguard, Soul Blast 1, search your deck for up to 1 copy of Game of the Underworld, and put it into your order zone. Now, keyword is at put. So you're not activating an order for the turn, so you do get access to using it that way. Now, it also has the ability, when this unit is chosen by the ability of Game of the Underworld, this unit gets plus 5k power. Now, why that's important? It's really not, but it's just an additional power buff, because Underworld Schemer the Schemer is just there to search us our order, because the order is what we need most of all. Now, what is so good about this order? Well, let me introduce you to Game of Underworld. Now, what it does is a set order that at the beginning of your battle phase, choose one of your back row rear guards, and it gains boost until the end of turn. Now, why is that important? Because this turns all of our grade 2s into boosters. The only grade 2, though, we really care about is Veldirock. But because of this order, we can turn our Veldirocks into boosters, and with its namesake Schemer, you can also use it as a booster as well, but this becomes a 15k outside of a constant 10k growing booster like Veldirock. But you only play 2. Some people I know play 3, but you only really need to play 2 because it's incredibly searchable, and if you do see it early, okay, you get to activate it on turn 2. Now on the grade 1s, these are a little simpler. We play 3 copies of the PG, 1 copy of Sanctitude, and we run the new Sanctitude. And here's why. New Sanctitude is just better because we do see a lot more stride decks than we do see grade 4 decks. And why that's important is because this is allowed to be played with decks that have an energy crest, but you cannot have more than one crest to be able to use this. So for all the divine decks, we can use this because we do not generate a secondary crest marker at all. Crest generator. Now, then it gives us the ability, if we're dealing with a deck that has 2 crests, this card can be played for free. Thus meaning, against stride decks, this is a free drop. Now, that's it, but it does not work just like the original against decks that do triple drive. Reason being, makes no sense because we don't see a lot of decks that do triple drive, albeit we are seeing a resurgence of Seraph Snow. So there is an argument to run the original Sanctitude over the new one. Next, we play 4 copies of Evoke Alchemist. This is our main grade 1 to boost behind BlangdmireDeck. It has the ability, when this unit, during the battle this unit boosted, if you have a grade 3 with BlangdmireDeck in name as Vanguard, this unit gets plus 5k, making it a 13k booster no matter what, which is really good. But when it blues BlangdmireDeck, it has the secondary skill of this unit gains an additional 2k, so now it becomes a 15k booster with the skill Counterblast 1. When you have 4 or more units face down in the bind zone to restand one of your rear guards. And if you had 8 or more, you then get to give that restanding unit plus 15k. So, with working in tandem with cards such as Zamoog, this can turn a 10k into a 25 with Force Marker, with Persona Writing. That turns this into a 35. So now you're looking at a 35k booster, attacker, turns it to a 40 with its own skill. Then on top of that, you then have it being boosted by Veldirock, where at the point of 2, now you're swinging with a 70k attacker with crit. And that's without any triggers interrupting. So, all these cards love to work together and do magic. And we play 4 of these, hands down. I don't see dropping this at any point, unless we get a replacement. Now, the last grade 1 of this deck that we are running is 2 copies of Netherworld Butcher. Now, its ability is when this unit is placed on rear, your opponent cannot intercept, as long as you have a BlangdmireDeck Vanguard for the turn this is placed. Really good because it's great on those pressure turns when you want to put everything on the board and you want to punish them. This just makes it so they cannot defend themselves much better. But then has the other ability of when this unit boosts, if you attack a grade 3, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with BlangdmireDeck in this name, choose a card from your drop and you may put it into Soul. Why this is good is because now it gives us a new Soul charge instead of running our lovely Servant. But because of Servant, we have, because there is no Servant, this is our way to grab cards from Trash to Soul. Primarily if we've had to discard our Colossi, this is the way to get those back. Now, on the triggers, we have the simple stuff. We run 4 copies of Veldirock Dragon, which is our at the end of the boost. Put into Soul, give a unit plus 2k. 4 copies of Bethany, so just your vanilla crit. 3 copies of Front Trigger. 4 heals. And then for the OT for this deck, this is debatable. A lot of people like different things. Some people play Nation, some play red, some play blue. I play yellow. Now, why do I play the yellow OT? Because it is amazing and it really hurts people in the BlangdmireDeck matchup, right? Here's why. It has the ability, when this is activated, you first draw up to 1 card for every 2 empty circles on your opponent's side of the field. This includes the Guardian Circle and their rear guards. Thus meaning, for every empty circle, you draw 2. At max, you should draw 3. I've more on average drawn 2. It then has the following ability to then retire all your opponent's rear guards and guardians. So what this means is if this OT is placed, this OT becomes a powerhouse to a rear guard, while the Vanguard's attack will still go through if they did not PG it. Because this will destroy this destroys the Guardian Circle. Just like one of the brilliant skills that came from D-Police, Dimensional Police before. So this just makes it so they either guarantee a PG is there because they can risk seeing the OT come in, or they will have to face consequences. Really good card. Really enjoy it. I have actually heard a lot of people with that card, and I've had a lot of people wonder what happened. But that has been our deck list for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Sorry for me rubbing my eyes. They have been a little irritated, but we're going to keep pressing through to make sure you guys get these deck lists. Once again, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. And just like I always say, guys, you are too important to the world. You're important to me. You are important to somebody. Don't forget to say hello to those you love, especially during this holiday season. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.